Imagine the world's most critical oil choke point, a strategic bottleneck where a significant portion of the planet's energy supply flows. This isn't just some random passage of water, it's the jugular vein of the global economy. Shut down, gas prices explode, not just at your local pump, but across the entire world. We're talking about a sudden dramatic spike that sends shockwaves through every sector. Global trade collapses, grinding supply chains to a halt and crippling economies worldwide. The ripple effects would be felt in every corner of the globe, impacting businesses and consumers alike. And World War III fears go viral. Social media erupts, news channels broadcast non-stop coverage, and the world holds its breath wondering what comes next. This isn't a movie plot. This is a very real, very plausible scenario that keeps geopolitical strategists awake at night. It's Iran's ultimate threat, a card they could play in a desperate attempt to assert their power and influence on the world stage. If war with Israel escalates, pushing the region to the brink of a full-blown conflict with global implications. The stakes are incredibly high, and the potential consequences are catastrophic. Here's why the Strait of Hormuz, a seemingly insignificant strip of water, is a geopolitical time bomb, ticking away, threatening to detonate at any moment and plunge the world into chaos. This narrow waterway between Iran and Oman, a strategic location that has been contested for centuries, is the world's most important oil artery. It's the critical link that connects the oil-rich Middle East to the rest of the world. Every single day, a constant stream of vessels navigates these waters. 17 to 20 million barrels of oil pass through, a volume that's almost incomprehensible. That's a staggering 30% of global oil trade, making it the single most important transit point for petroleum in the world. And a quarter of all LNG shipments, further solidifying its importance to the global energy market. If you're in Saudi Arabia, the world's largest oil exporter, the UAE, a major hub for trade and finance in the region, Iraq, struggling to rebuild its economy after decades of conflict, or Qatar, a leading producer of liquefied natural gas, this is your economic lifeline. Your prosperity, your stability, your very survival depends on the free flow of oil and gas through this narrow passage. No Hormuz, their economies crash overnight. We're talking about a sudden and devastating collapse, with businesses shuttering, unemployment soaring, and social unrest spreading. Headlines scream, oil prices hit record highs. The news spreads like wildfire, triggering panic buying and exacerbating the crisis. And suddenly, everything changes. The world order is shaken, alliances are tested, and the future becomes uncertain. Now, how could Iran actually pull this off? What capabilities do they possess that would allow them to effectively shut down this vital waterway? They've got 4 deadly tactics up their sleeve, a combination of conventional and unconventional warfare strategies designed to maximize disruption and inflict significant damage. First, mines. A relatively low-tech but highly effective weapon, invisible, lurking, waiting for the next tanker to unknowingly trigger a devastating explosion. Second, suicide drones. Unmanned aerial vehicles packed with explosives, kamikaze strikes out of nowhere, capable of overwhelming defenses and causing significant damage, targeting massive ships, creating maritime chaos and disrupting shipping lanes. Third, missile barrages, a constant rain of projectiles raining down on ports, crippling infrastructure and disrupting operations. And any vessel brave enough to cross, turning the Strait of Hormuz into a deadly gauntlet. And finally, the infamous swarm attacks, a tactic that has become synonymous with Iranian naval strategy. Hundreds of IRGC speedboats, armed with rockets and machine guns, overwhelming defenses and chaos, creating a chaotic and unpredictable battlefield. Even if the US Navy retaliates, bringing its superior firepower to bear, just a 48-hour blockade, a mere 2 days of disruption, triggers global chaos. The economic and political ramifications would be felt around the world. What does that look like for the world economy? Let's break down the potential consequences. Oil prices skyrocket. The immediate impact would be felt at the gas pump, $150 a barrel in no time, a price that would have seemed unimaginable just a short time ago, maybe even $200 plus, pushing the global economy to the brink of recession. If the crisis drags on, creating a prolonged period of economic uncertainty and instability, Europe, a continent heavily reliant on imported energy, LNG prices triple. The cost of heating homes and powering industries would skyrocket, worse than the 2022 Russia-Ukraine shock, which already sent energy markets into turmoil. Ship insurers refuse coverage, Deeming the Strait of Hormuz too dangerous to navigate, tankers get stranded, creating a massive maritime traffic jam and further disrupting global trade. You and I, the average person, we see food and electronics prices surge as the cost of transportation and manufacturing increases dramatically, shipping costs up 500%, making everyday goods unaffordable for many. Stock markets panic. Investors lose confidence, airlines struggling with soaring fuel costs, automakers facing supply chain disruptions and increased production costs, tech giants, all sectors of the economy take a hit, they all crash. The financial devastation would be widespread and long-lasting. Investors flee to safe havens, seeking refuge from the storm. Gold, a traditional store of value in times of crisis. Bitcoin, the controversial cryptocurrency, seen by some as a hedge against inflation and economic uncertainty, anything but stocks. The rush to safety would further destabilize the markets and exacerbate the economic downturn. Feels like the 1973 oil crisis all over again, doesn't it? Long gas lines, rationing, and economic hardship. But it gets even more explosive. The economic crisis is just the beginning. The U.S. Fifth Fleet, the guardian of the Persian Gulf based just nearby in Bahrain, would be forced to respond, would strike back hard, targeting Iranian naval assets and military installations, risking all-out war. A conflict that could quickly spiral out of control, drawing in other regional and global powers. China and Russia? Two major players with their own strategic interests in the region. They're watching and profiting, assessing the situation and looking for opportunities to advance their own agendas. Russia sells more oil to Europe, filling the void left by the disruption in Middle Eastern supplies. China backs Iran, providing diplomatic and economic support to its ally, undermining the US dollar as countries seek alternative currencies for trade and investment. Turkey suddenly finds itself in a position of unexpected influence, a key alternative route, as ships seek to bypass the blocked Strait of Hormuz by using the Turkish Straits, but walking a diplomatic tightrope, balancing its relationships with both the West and Russia. A Hormuz blockade, a scenario that was once considered unthinkable, could be worse than COVID in terms of its impact on the global economy and international relations. For the global economy, the consequences would be far-reaching and devastating. The US, EU, and China, the world's major economic powers, would fight to reopen it, forming a coalition to break the blockade and restore the flow of oil. But not before stagflation, wars, and widespread instability grip the world. And a new energy Cold War begin, as countries scramble to secure access to vital resources. Smash like if you learned something terrifying. Subscribe for more geopolitical deep dives. We'll continue to explore the complex and dangerous world we live in.